our students by remaining silent, to listen more to what's going on in the world, and to enlist our communities into becoming more global citizens, helping other countries around the world to solve problems that are occurring every day. Listen to the echoes you still hear of a small country in Rwanda 22 years ago. In that country of Rwanda, over the course of 100 days, over 8,000 people were being killed every day. And the United States, worried about elections that year, did nothing about it. More important than the news that year was the fact that Kagame of Rwanda died. More important that year was the fact that senators and congressmen had to be reelected when they went home for vacation in August. More important that year was SAT scores and SAT 2 scores and AP scores. And few in the world knew that 8,000 per day were being killed, and that over 800,000 in 100 days were killed. Vision with action, teaching U.S. high school students about the Rwandan Genocide. This is the small country of Rwanda, no larger than the size of the state of Maryland, with the large country of Uganda to the north, Tanzania to the east, Burundi to the south, and the Democratic Republic of Congo to the west. That is a young boy I got to know when I went over to that country soon after the height of the genocide in the 1990s. That young boy lost his mother, his father, 6 siblings, an aunt, an uncle, and both grandparents. And we were trying to find them in that graveyard. An orphan. Oh, and he was also HIV positive. And there was no medication over there to save this young boy. I will never forget the moment I stepped foot in that graveyard with him. And I started to say to myself, we are so worried about things in the United States. When are we going to teach our students about what's going on in other countries around the world to help to prevent what I call the cancer of conflict from metastasizing each and every day? And as I sat down and talked to this young boy with a translator, he said, please start to teach people about our country. Please teach your people what's going on here to this day. Please teach them that this is not something that stopped once the genocide ended. He was a former Tutsi. The Tutsis represented roughly 85% of the population. They were the ones that were wiped out by the Hutus, roughly 15% of the population, who did not agree that the Tutsis controlled politically and they controlled the country financially. The Hutus said, we are the majority, but we are the slaves. We are working the land, we are being killed, and this is not fair. So on April 6, 1994, they picked up their machetes. They picked up M16s, AK-47s, and Uzis that were sent in by the French. And they started to wipe out not just Tutsis, like this little boy's family. They started wiping out moderate Hutus who brought Tutsis into their homes and hid them. One Tutsi, a man by the name of Paul Kagame, has become a dear friend. Paul Kagame is now the president of Rwanda. He was carried out on his mother's back north to Uganda to grow up in a refugee camp starting in 1960. He was lucky to get out of the country. He and 2 friends founded RPF, a military force that came back in starting in 1990 to free the country. to overrun radical Hutus, called Hutu power, and to create a democracy again. President Kagame said, we must create a democracy in this country. We must never let the genocide take place again. The unfortunate thing, he came back into the country between 1990 and 1994. He finally freed the country and stopped the genocide, but to this day, there is an undercurrent of possible genocide in the future in that country. He still has young children like this who are former Hutus, who are being kept in orphanages around the country. Former Hutus who are saying, we are still the majority in this country. President Kagame, you are a Tutsi. You are not supposed to be running the country. He has arch rivals in that country like this man, who is now living next door in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And that man, he is training children like this to pick up not just machetes, but hatchets and what they call porcupine clubs. Long pieces of wood, similar to baseball bats, with nails sticking out. 30, 40, 50 nails. When swung, they can do quite a bit of damage. So you've still got in Rwanda to this day a conflict between Tutsis and Hutus. Recently, President Kagame said, number one, we are no longer going to call ourselves Hutus and Tutsis. We are going to call ourselves Rwandans. And number two, no longer is Kinyarwanda going to be our language. The first language will be English, the second language will be French, and the third language will be Kinyarwanda. He has created a conflict in and of itself with Tutsis and Hutus who feel that Kinyarwanda should be the first language. And number two, there are still Hutus and Tutsis who want power. How is this vision with action? I decided to write a case study on this conflict, where I wrote 20 pages that reflects the history of this conflict, understandable to American high school students. The second chapter is a chronology, important dates in the history of this conflict, so that students know what happened in 1990 or 1994, or even today, where Rwanda continues to bring in military advisors from Israel and military arms from the United States of America. The next chapter, being able to have students role play former Hutus, former Tutsis, those Hutus who survived inside the country at the height of the genocide, those who fled and are back. Or former Tutsis like President Kagame, who left the country and is now back. Many inside the country who are former Tutsis do not agree that he should be president. And students have no choice when they're role-playing one side or another. In my classroom in this building, classroom 221. But as they're role-playing different sides, they learn to walk in the shoes of everyone, as opposed to thinking you're right and you're wrong. They learn that international conflict is not two-dimensional, it is three-dimensional. There are not just two sides, there are multiple sides. And by role-playing, they then get the chance to have a live Skype with President Kagame, who will soon be coming to our country, by the way. I will see him on May 19th in Boston, Massachusetts. And number three, I've invited the students who are taking this class called Axis of Hope to come with me this summer to work in Rwanda with former Hutus and former Tutsis in the orphanage where you saw those little boys. They'll have a dinner when they're there. A dinner with President and Mrs. Kagame in their beautiful estate, right up the hill from the famous Hotel Rwanda. But every day, when they're there, they'll get to walk by this little shack, which is the home of a former Hutu family, just down the hill from a former Tutsi family, you can see it. and they go to an orphanage called Home of Hope. Home of Hope is run by Mother Teresa's proteges. And there, you walk into one of many rooms, and you pull a low bench in front of a crib. 3, 4, 5 students sitting on a bench with me. We put bowls on either side of us. And we feed porridge to the little boys and the little girls who are hanging on behind the cribs, smiling or crying. And as one student said 2 summers ago when we were there, isn't this amazing? These seem to be the prisoners of poverty. What's the vision? Teaching students about what happened in the Rwandan Genocide, number 1. The action, having them role play the different sides. And then connect with President Kagame via Skype. And then the action, coming alive, being surrounded by this, by going to Rwanda, where every single sense, smell, sight, hearing, taste, touch, comes alive. You're not just reading about it on paper or talking with someone about it. You are living it and you are breathing it. And you walk away from that experience. You walk away from seeing these children in this orphanage and seeing President Kagame with his unbelievable wealth. And you, those students, get to decide who is right and who is wrong. And I leave you with this. The last group I took to Rwanda 2 summers ago, in that orphanage, got to see a little girl named Lucy. Lucy, HIV positive. Lucy had cholera. Lucy had tuberculosis. Lucy had yellow fever. All we could give her was the drug AZT. I would take little Lucy and put her on my arm and have one arm down one side, one arm down the other side, one leg down one side, one leg down the other side. Turn her little face up and swing her back and forth. She loved it. And then I'd take the equivalent of a little glass dripper you see in chemistry classrooms. Drip, drip, drip. That's all we could give her as food. Water with nutrients inside. And as I rocked her back and forth one day, right before leaving, I thought, is this what we're doing in the United States? Drip, drip, drip. Teaching students slowly, slowly, slowly about what's going on in the world. Not allowing students to go and help others where they really need it. Relying on the MCAS and the SAT and the SAT2 and the APs, the what you get. Relying on the who won the game. Well, I tell you, those children in Rwanda are not winning the game. We have to have a vision. Start it in the classroom, connect with technology, and then go. A life-changing experience for our students who will learn that giving back, right here at home and halfway around the world, is important. Oh, and that little Lucy, she died. She died of complications related to HIV. And that is one of many students in Rwanda dying to this day. May we please empower more people to learn about what's going on in the world, places like Syria, places like Iraq, places like Iran, for example, and may we please take more students and get them out in the field to learn what is happening in this world, to stop the cancer of conflict more effectively, beginning in the formative years of lives of our future leaders. Thank you.